I had a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Or a suggestion, rather. We actually had some copies of your pamphlet, quite inspiring. I was thinking in particular that bit about integrity instead of optics. And it seems to me that given the current situation, it might be ideal to take a tack in a new pro-mat direction to more accurately and directly address the issues which are facing the nation.
An assumption that our message is the way it is because we are afraid of being called nasty names, or because we are worried that someone might say Jew this or Jew that, is incorrect. Our message is built with a very conscious intent.
I happen to know a lot of people who have a poor perception of Patriot Front on account of that, if you follow.
What do you mean by that? So is this just because our stuff doesn't talk about like Jews or black people like directly, like or like by name? Is that what they're talking about? It's fine if you can say that. I'm not going to be offended.
Well, that's exactly the point. That's the long and short of it. People who otherwise would approve of Patriot Front don't, because of that exact reason. They perceive it as being optical, if you like.
The group we seek to make our target demographic both an ideal and logistical function, which is the nation, and then it is our moral stances and convictions which outline that demographic and also what we deem as good and bad, right? Because our message is not chiefly about them. Everyone talks about black people, and everyone talks about gay people, and everyone talks about these imagined, oppressed, downtrodden, impoverished. Everybody's talking about everybody who isn't us. And if we turn our gaze and start talking about everybody who isn't us, we are adding to that trend. We have a great deal of easily accessible opportunity in organizing around those who are willing, who are able to be improved, to be worked with, and to be mobilized and made active. So that is why a lot of our message, nearly all of it, revolves around us and who we are. Because everyone else is already everyone else, and they know who they are. But we want to show people who we are and what we believe. And we take this stringent moral fixture, and it is a lens through which you can look at the entire world. We don't use the language that a lot of people use, and we have our rules for our message that we stick to, because having rules about our beliefs and their presentation over a pretty long period of time now, and those being consistent, lends us credibility, because we don't use certain buzzwords or call out certain specific things, whether that's using certain, phrases or names of groups or individuals or even slurs, right? Doesn't actually mean that we don't have certain moral fixtures.
If I could add to that, because I've had this discussion with other people, and I've seen this criticism PF. Many people in the movement will make this assumption that if it doesn't look like the NSDAP and clap like the NSDAP, then it's not dissident, right? It's not in our interest, and that's just silly. I think it's a good thing to make the point that fascism displays itself or manifests itself in different ways in different nations, and therefore the American nation's representation of its national interest is going to be different than another nation like Germany's, and that's fine, and that doesn't invalidate either of the ways of doing it.
So I suppose, I should just I'll tell my friend, I suppose, that Patriot Front is opposed to Jewish control of the United States. We're just not big on talking about it much.
Jews are definitely involved in, institutions and government, and they definitely, a lot of the people doing the things that I'm very much morally against are Jewish. And in some cases that might be a coincidence, and in other cases it's probably not. And I've actually spoken about this before. We openly state what we are against in regards to the existence of the United States as it stands. And if Jews are involved, if it's not like, we're conservatives where we say, oh, we don't like the government because it's doing X, and someone says, oh, well, Jews are actually involved in the government. We say, oh my God, right? I would never. No, we don't say that because we place our morality above optics.
But yeah, hey, Sean, Kansas, is your thing like they're obsessed with Jews and it's not, oh my God, it's not the Turner Diaries, therefore it can't be effective?
No, not as such. It's more of they don't think Patriot Front, since Patriot Front doesn't seem to acknowledge that the Jews exist at all.
Every single person in this organization knows. I haven't met a single person here who doesn't know the JQ. Literally everyone here does. It's not like a thing that like we don't let in like MAGA boomers or like forget the Democrats. Like everyone knows. If you want to tell them that, like that would probably ease their worries a bit. Like and it's like
that seems incredibly disingenuous to me to say that the only way to directly address the Jewish question is in that manner, because it's possible to do it using our tactics and our professional approach.
I'm not done. I was also going to say, like, like, Thomas done this pretty well in that, like, when you operate like that, you are, like, you're kind of feeding into the crazy, like, mouth foaming, like, Nazi, like, stereotype.
Oh, hey, yeah, just to sum up, what I think he's trying to get at is, we gotta look beyond Jews. That's what sums it up the most. Like, yeah, you can, everyone here knows that it's the Jewish question is true, but even if Jews were like more or less be gone tomorrow, okay, you know, the treatment that they've done to this country still be bad, whether Jews did it or not. You could have total, Americans, blooded Americans treating America the way Jews have treated it, and we'd still be opposed to it. But we gotta look beyond Jews, because it isn't just Jews that are doing these things. There's plenty of Shabbos goys, and there's gonna be plenty of Shabbos goys even in the ethno state.
Like even if all Jews like disappeared in a blink of an eye tomorrow, you would still have a bunch of white people all over the country that don't understand their American roots, or like what.
The biggest thing that, as a whole, of like fascists or Natsucks, however you want to describe yourself, is that like we get so wrapped up like having like Nogs and Jews live rent free in your head for like 24/7, 365. No one else is going to do for us. Like, oh wow, like let's just deport all the Nogs and the Jews. Like that's not going to resolve the problems. Like,
I know what you're trying to say. I just fundamentally disagree, because we need to deal with our enemies, the ones who have inflicted this injury upon us and are continuing to do so. Sure, all our problems would disappear tomorrow if all of them disappeared, but it would be a very good flipping start.
Well, I don't think it's not a bad criticism. I mean, it's okay to have these, to have these discussions.
It's valid. Even I've thought that at one point, but
me too.
It's like, why not just attack it directly? It's because like it's like everyone knows. Like I don't.
It's the same thing as introducing, your family member or your close friend to the JQ. I mean, are you going to throw them in the deep end or just give them a trail of breadcrumbs? Sometimes it's just a little nudge in the right direction. People will find out on their own.
Yeah, and it's like we can harp on about, just the blacks or just the Jews or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's all of those things. Because having one.
Right. I mean, if we just went Jew, everyone's walls would go up and then we'd fizzle out in a year.
We're not appealing to normies. We're appealing to our own guys. I think within the movement, like when Thomas is talking about how we have our own revolutionary, vocabulary and way of thinking and talking, I think that's why it could be a little confusing. That's why it's new, because what we are presenting is new. It's universal. It's not the old guard way of it's the Jews, it's the blacks, it's the trannies, it's the blah, 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 blah. 50 million things, 50 million complaints, because we can quickly sum it up as it's a system and then redirect the focus back on let's make this about us and the positive things about what America is and define American.
One common misconception about the organization that a lot of people have as well is that our goal is to try and appeal to normies. And Thomas is very explicit in the fact that our goal is to turn nationalists into activists.